Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Famuyiwa, your host for Fertile Talks. And today we're going to do something different. We're going to be talking about egg donation and talking about what protections are there for egg donors who's eligible for egg donation in the hope to prevent abuse, because a lot has been happening in the egg donation world. So let's talk about what is egg donation. Egg donation is when a woman donates her own eggs to help someone else conceive a child. This could be for couples trying to conceive, struggling with infertility, or people individuals who are unable to genetically produce their own eggs, and families who may be single parents who want to conceive as an egg donation. So, egg donation really is a deeply generous act where you're helping some family or someone start their own family. So, it should be done with proper thought and action, and preconceiving what you're going to expect from it. So it's important to be completely informed, to be protected and supported throughout the whole process. Now, who's eligible to donate eggs? Usually, there are some guidelines that we would recommend. So, most clinics will prefer someone between the ages of 22 and maybe 30 or so, when the eggs are typically healthiest, 21 to 32 even. The nurse have to be in good physical and mental health with no serious genetic or hereditary problems. And also, the lifestyle matters. Donors should consider being non smokers and healthy BMI range, avoiding using of substances such as cannabinoids, medical marijuana, or gummies. Those can affect your eggs. And then importantly, they need to be committed, right? Because it's a process. So if you're available to visit the clinic, to attend all the required appointments, and over the duration of the stimulation process, then fine. But if you're not, you need to consider, because then it starts to eat into your lifestyle or your work and may make it very difficult to comply. Now, what are the things to protect egg donors? Let's talk about informed consent. Donors must be fully informed about the process, the potential risks, and potential side effects, right? Risk of hyperstimulation, risk of injury. That's very important to know. You need to understand the medications being used, the recovery time needed. And second off, there has to be a clear legal contract that outlines the compensation for the time that you put into this. And you need to review this very carefully. In addition, donors should have access to high quality medical care throughout the whole process, and including counseling, such as psychological counseling, if needed. Now, donors should be able to control whether their personal information is shared. Here's where I tell my donors, be aware. You may choose to be anonymous. However, with Ancestry.com, with 23andMe, someone can easily track you down in 18 years and show up at your door and say, hey, knock, knock, the eggs that made me were from you. You need to process that and figure out how are you going to feel with that, about that, because that could happen. It wouldn't come from the clinic per se, but it can very well happen. So you need to deal with that. So donors should be fairly compensated for their time and their effort as needed. Now, one of my pet peeves is some donors we've seen may be involved in trafficking and abuse, and this is huge. There was a recent report, an investigation, where they found that some women, some girls, were being trafficked in certain countries, and their eggs are shipped all over the world. So when you go on a website and someone is promising you you're going to get 6 or 8 eggs for some incredible price, be careful that those women that donated those eggs were not trafficked or coerced into such a thing. That should never be allowed. there should be industry regulation. It's not there yet, but we can't control what's going on in Africa or in Asia or in South America if you choose to buy your eggs elsewhere and create babies over there. So be aware that this is an ongoing issue and should never be allowed. Those donors need to be educated about their rights and the risk involved. They need to be properly screened. So not all places will screen donors. Beyond the medical screening, which we all do, yeah, look for infectious diseases and all that. But then there are certain, medical conditions that need to be ruled out because those have a serious risk of being transmitted genetically to the infant. So if you get a donor and you don't know if the proper skin screens were done, then you are setting yourself up for a heartache later on, right? The donors need access to independent advocates and counselors, a psychological counselor, to make sure that they have gone through the thought process of why are they doing this. I tell you, I'll give you an instance. I saw a donor a few days ago who I thought was an ideal candidate, who was 22, was married, had two kids, and they didn't want any more kids. And her husband had a vasectomy. And she decided she wanted to help other people build their families who may need it. She was very rational, very mature, willing to go through psychological counseling, did not use any controlled substances, was not a smoker or a drinker. Her husband was extremely supportive of her choice. This would be an ideal candidate. She has the right support. She's willing to go through all the screening, and she's doing it from a place of love, of concern to help, right? So the impetus to donate eggs should not be like one of finances only. Just like I'm doing it just to make money. So I'm going to let them collect my eggs a gazillion times in a million different clinics. That's not healthy, right? So if you're donating eggs and you're going from clinic to clinic to clinic, you are subjecting yourself to certain risks. And you also have to be concerned because should you choose to have children of your own in the future, are you setting yourself up for increased risk and complications when you decide to start your own family? I know it's recommended that donors do not donate more than 6 times, but I've found that some donors will shop around different clinics and they don't necessarily divulge that they've been to 7 different clinics. They just keep donating. So I personally don't think that's a good idea. I'm an advocate for starting a global, at this point, not just within the US, registry that would help to track donors, to make sure that they're in compliance with this, and make sure not just to track them, but also to make sure that they're not being trafficked. We don't want donors who are trafficked, who are coerced, who are abused. That is just not right, ethically and morally and legally not right. So I hope this answers your questions. You need to take a long, hard think about why you're doing this. In our clinic, we actually turn down 97 to 98% of egg donors who are wanting to be egg donors because they don't fit all these criteria, or their reason for doing so is not one that fits with our mission statement or our vision, and therefore we would deny it. So, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that this has been helpful. This is a topic that's very near and dear to me, and I hope the discussion is helpful. So, if you have any comments or questions, please drop us a comment in the comment box. And if you know anyone that needs to hear this, go ahead and share, like, and subscribe to our podcast at Fertile Talks with Dr. Famuyiwa. Thank you very much.